All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another success case video interview. Today, I am with Vladimir, who got a job with VanHack. Vladimir, thank you for accepting the invitation to share your journey with us. How are you today?
For having me, Maria. I'm pretty good. Coldish, a little bit cold, but doing all right.
That's great. First of all, congratulations. But let's start talking about yourself, about your background. Where are you from?
I am Vladimir. I am from Brazil, born and raised in Rio, and I am trained as a designer, and I have a lot of background as a designer, product designer. But over the last 5 years or so, I've transitioned a little bit into product management. So I'm 36 years old, recently arrived in Toronto, Canada, and yeah, it's a little bit about me.
That's great. Let's start talking about the beginning. Why you decide to look for a job with VanHack? What were your principal motivations?
So in my case, I talked with my partner a lot about, the future and what it is that motivated us to stay or go. And I have an European citizenship that could enable me to find something in Europe. But when we were discussing, I mean, I speak only Portuguese and English. They speak Portuguese, English, and French. So it made a lot of sense for us to choose Canada as a potential destination. At that point in time, we had no idea what the future held for us. So this is how we kind of zeroed into Canada. So at that point, I began applying, and that's when I was talking with a friend. They told me, "Hey, do you know VanHack?" And at that point, I had no idea what they were talking about. So I joined the website, looked for the careers that were posted there from the multiple companies and different profiles, and I created my account and started applying. So this was, I believe, in October of 2021. So almost exactly 1 year ago.
That's great. And before VanHack, did you try other platforms to look for a job
Oh
abroad?
yeah, I for opportunities abroad, I did a lot of the search on LinkedIn, which is I think what everyone does today. I also did look at Glassdoor and Indeed and other platforms as well. Uh, so yeah, I did indeed look into other platforms, but also the hack.
Okay. And now with the company that you're working, how was the process? How was the interview, the first steps when the recruiter called you? How was it?
So it was a really straightforward process. Even though it was through VanHack, the overall process was the same as I was having at that point in time for other interviews. So the first approach, I applied to the opportunity, like one does, and I got an email saying that I was shortlisted for that specific position. And I applied for both roles that I mentioned before, design and product management, but I was really looking more into the product management side, which is what I envision myself doing moving forward. So I got an email saying that I was shortlisted, which was pretty exciting. And after that, I got selected for an interview, and from there the process began. I talked with a representative from VanHack, Cecilia, she's amazing, and we did a little bit of an interview prep. Like she got to know me, understood what were my goals and what I wanted to do career-wise, and from then on, I had multiple kind of phases in the interview process. So the first time with the hiring manager, and then a second interview in which it was a more technical conversation with other members of the team, and a third step in which I met the kind of technology head, and a fourth step where I started to meet the individual team members from multiple areas of the company. So I met people from the design team, met people from the engineering team, so on and so forth. And lastly, I got to the offer phase and got offered the position.
That's great. And how was the feeling when you received the job offer? Describe us that happy moment. How was it?
So that was like, as I think a lot of people can relate to this. Once you do get a positive answer, it's not something you ever think it's going to happen. Like when you apply for an international opportunity where you are like it's something close to like a dream step of yours, something like that, you think this is never going to happen, but like I have to try it, right? So this was very much what happened to me. Even though I progressed through the steps and I had good feelings about each of these steps that I went through, I never thought it would happen that I would convert this interview and this process into an actual offer. So when I did, like I kept living my life back at home. So I had just like when I got the final answer, I had just gotten the keys to a new apartment that I was moving into. So all of that was happening while this process was also going on. I got the offer. I got like a heads up before, say, hey, they're gonna make you an offer. Like, congratulations. And of course, I was over the moon because, like I mentioned before, it wasn't something that I was ever expecting that it would happen to me, but then it did. So it was insane and incredible and amazing and unbelievable and this like multitude of feelings happening all at the same time.
Yeah, I can imagine. And did you start working remote, like from Brazil, and then move right now, like you're living in Toronto? How was this
So
process?
yeah, I started working remotely. So I got the offer beginning of December and started working remotely middle of December and had been working remotely right up until the move. I left Brazil on the September 6th, so I was working remotely until basically the week before. So all of that time, waiting for the visa to process and all of that stuff. But yeah, I was working remotely with them for this whole time.
Great. How was the relocation process with VanHack? Did you receive any help, any advice for this big movement?
So for the relocation, I did receive some help from VanHack, but I'm a very digitally organized person, and so I did a lot of my own kind of investigation search to understand everything that I could do, and I planned the whole move because I got a few days off work after arriving here so that I could settle. And you know how it is. You arrive at a new country, you have nothing but the clothes on your back and the clothes in your suitcases. So I got like 4 days to get everything settled. So I did the best I could in that time. And I was fairly successful, I think, into managing that time to be able to organize everything. So the tips from VanHack were invaluable in like bureaucratic stuff that you need. Uh, Schedule your SIN appointment with Service Canada. That was something that I didn't know was possible, and it saved me from a 3 hour wait time in line in Service Canada. So those were like that. That's the extent of the like time saving measures that that Hackett provided with to me at that point.
Great. Um, Vladimir, was there a time during your process that you thought about giving up? And when, why, how did you change your mind?
Sure. I mean, when you make a decision that you want to change jobs, you have to go through lots of interviews, and that's, I think, natural until you find a place that you feel like you can belong in, and until you find a place where you think you can grow, and all of those qualities that we're all looking for. So, absolutely, I had some interviews for places that I would love to work at, but that didn't happen. And it's hard, you know, you interview sometimes uh, 30, 40 times, 50, 60, 80, 100 times in like a 6 month uh, time frame. And most of what you get are no's. So it's frustrating. And of course, you consider quitting the job search for sure. But the thing is that you have to kind of, it's pretty like self-helpy, but you got to believe that that's going to happen and that's going to work in your favor. So, and you keep have to keep going. Otherwise, you're not going to move and you're going to be stuck where you are forever.
Yeah. Vladimir, how is life now? You are like, how many days are have you been in Toronto now? Like 10?
So I've been in Toronto for it's so crazy because I feel like it was yesterday, but it's almost been 3 weeks now. It's been yeah, it's like a little bit over 2 weeks, if I'm
Okay,
being
and how is life so far right now there?
so it's pretty good. It's a great change of pace from where I was living before. The weather is nice, a little bit cold to my taste, but I'm from a tropical country, so forgive me, Torontonian. No offense here, but it's been pretty good. I love the region I'm living in. I really do. Uh, I love the city from what I've seen so far, which isn't much, but I've seen enough to already fall in love with the place and the country and the people. So it's really, really good. No complaints whatsoever.
Great. Do you have any tips for other hackers that are looking for the same as you did?
So my tips are, I think, what nothing new, but take each interview and each step as something to learn from. Try to be as to look at it as like open-minded as possible from your own performance to the questions you've been asked, to the questions you've asked, and try to learn from those steps because at least for me, like my performance in interviews from when I began the interview process way back in August of last year was one way, but by the time I went through my last interview in mid to late November, I was interviewing in a much better way. So you definitely have to master a skill of interviewing, uh, which sometimes we spend 4 or 5, however many years in a place, and you kind of need to relearn what it is to interview. So keep at it, learn from all of your interviews and all of the steps and all of the phases that you go through, and at some point you're gonna find something great that matches what you want. Uh, and that's what I try to keep in mind when I kept going, and it worked for me. So it doesn't mean that it's going to work for everyone, but I think it's a good strategy to follow for sure.
Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. And we wish you the best of luck in what is coming. And I see you're out. Thank you. Bye bye.
Maria, bye bye.